In this video, we will be learning about building RESTful web services using PHP. The video will cover how to create powerful application programming interfaces, also known as APIs, that connect applications seamlessly. A representational state transfer application programming interface, or REST API, is an architectural style for designing networked applications. It uses standard hypertext transfer protocol, also known as HTTP, methods to allow different computer systems to communicate. REST stands for Representational State Transfer. REST APIs use hypertext transfer protocol, also known as HTTP, methods to perform different actions. The GET method is used to retrieve data. The POST method is used to create a new resource. The PUT method is used to update an existing resource. The delete method is used to remove a resource. To set up a PHP application programming interface, or API structure, create the following folders and files. Create a folder named API. Inside the API folder, create 3 more folders named config, models, and routes. Inside the config folder, create a file named database.php. Inside the models folder, create a file named user.php. Inside the routes folder, create a file named api.php. Finally, create a file named index.php in the main API folder. Here is the code for a basic application programming interface, or API endpoint in the index.php file. First, set the content type to JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation, using the header function. Then, get the request method from the server using the request_method variable. Use a switch statement to check the request method. If the method is GET, echo a JSON encoded message that says, "Hello API." Here is the code for connecting to a database in the config/database.php file. Create a class named database. Inside the database class, create a static function named connect. Inside the connect function, define the host, database name, username, and password variables. Then return a new PHP data object, also known as PDO, with the connection details. Here is the code for creating a user model in the models/user.php file. Create a class named user. Inside the user class, define a private variable to hold the database connection. Create a constructor function that takes a database connection as a parameter and assigns it to the private database variable. Create a function named getAll that queries the database to select all users from the users table. Finally, return all the results using fetchAll method. Here is the code for handling GET requests in the routes/api.php file. First, require the database.php and user.php files. Check if the request method is GET. If it is, connect to the database using the database class's connect function. Create a new user object, passing in the database connection. Call the getAll function on the user object to get all users. Finally, echo the users as a JSON encoded string. Here is the code for handling POST requests in the routes/api.php file, which creates a new user. Check if the request method is POST. If it is, get the input data from the request body using file_get_contents and decode it from JSON format. Get the name and email from the input data. Connect to the database using the database class's connect function. Create a new user object, passing in the database connection. Call the create function on the user object, passing in the name and email. Finally, echo the result as a JSON encoded string. When building an application programming interface or API, it is important to handle errors and return appropriate hypertext transfer protocol, also known as HTTP status codes. Some common status codes are 200, which means success, 201, which means created, 400, which means bad request, 404, which means not found, and 500, which means server error. To set a status code in PHP, use the http_response_code function, passing in the desired status code. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.